Heyo, Fincastle86 and the Big Cheese with 3 minutes of genealogy wisdom. Newspapers, are they good for genealogical research? Absolutely. But I'll tell you folks, it's kind of hit or miss. You may find a gold mine of information, particularly if you have some kind of famous or prominent people in your ancestral line. Or you may do a whole lot of research and not really come up with a whole lot. First off, obituaries. Obituaries contain all kinds of genealogical information, especially if you're looking for somebody who died in the 20th century. Now, there are obituaries before then, certainly, mostly for more prominent individuals. But in the 20th century, obituaries can be a great source of information on where somebody lived, what they did in life, and it can add something more than the pure genealogy. It can add some story. And that's the trend throughout doing research into newspapers. You're learning stories about your ancestors. You're not just learning who they were, what their names were. So it's adding some color to your research. Secondly, access can be tough, and that's the main reason why a lot of genealogists just completely overlook doing research into newspapers, because newspapers are not standardized. There's so many newspapers, a lot of it is not digitized. However, in this increasingly digital world, you can have digital access to more and more and more newspapers. Try the Library of Congress site. Go to the Library of Congress. They have a directory for any newspaper out there in the United States. You find your location, you find the time period you're looking for. It can tell you where those newspapers are held, like what they may be at a public library somewhere. They may be held on microfilm at a historical society, something like that. And that's one of the things with newspaper research. You may be able to find it online. There are a lot of free sites. Library of Congress has a collection. Wikipedia even has a collection. But then there's a lot of, and some of those free sites are really, really good. But they're limited. It's only like, 5, 10, 20% of all the newspapers that have ever existed. Plus, when you search these things, sometimes it's difficult to come up with a search strategy when you're talking about so much information. There are a lot of subscription sites too, so keep an eye out for those if you have the budget for it. Lastly, information. It may be negative because you know what? Good information, good stories don't sell newspapers. Newspapers, even 200 years ago, 150 years ago, were full of the bad news, just like they are today. And so if you find out a lot of information about your family in newspapers, the chances are it's going to be negative. Not necessarily. You may have great people in your family, but you may also find out that some of your ancestors went to jail, were involved in, shady dealings or whatever. But you know what? Good luck. It's going to take some work on your part. Go to the library, go online, but newspapers can be an excellent source to add some color to your research program. But my Black Russian is losing its chill, so cheers.